live in interesting times. Today's stories. Zimbabwe opposition leader insists he won the elections. Venezuelans just make it into Peru as passport deadline expires. DRC Electoral Commission rejects the candidacy of a former warlord. British Foreign Minister praises the temporary release of a UK-Iranian woman. Plus, Multnomah Falls, a breathtaking view all year round. Hello everyone, I am Rose Papa Angeles, bringing you stories from around the globe. And this is Eagle News, Washington, D.C. Zimbabwe's main opposition leader Nelson Chamisa on Saturday refused to accept a constitutional court ruling that upheld Emerson Mnangagwa's win in presidential election last month. In his first comment since the country's top court overturned the opposition's legal challenge to have the results annulled, Chamisa vowed to lead peaceful protests.
But it is also important for me to note that in understanding that the respecting of the decisions of the Constitutional Court do not by definition mean accepting it. You can respect but not agreeing with the Constitutional Court. And I respectfully disagree and reject the position that was arrived at by the Constitutional Court. We got a clear majority in the urban areas, in the metropoles. We control over 90%. Last time I was saying it's about 65%, the computation has been done. It's actually 90% of those who contribute the revenue in terms of the taxpayers. So we have to understand the reality we have in this country. We have a disputed election, we have a legitimate issue, we have a legality issue, we have a constitutional crisis around the election in Zimbabwe.
In a verdict widely predicted by analysts, Chief Justice Luke Malaba strongly criticized the MDC party's case and upheld Mnangagwa's win. Robert Mugabe's successor Mnangagwa of the ruling ZANU-PF party won the July 30th election with 50.8% of the vote, just enough to meet the 50% threshold needed to avoid a runoff against Chamisa, who scored 44.3%. The elections were largely judged to be free of the violence which characterized previous elections in Zimbabwe. Chamisa insists he won more than 2/3 of the vote. Mnangagwa took over from Mugabe after the longtime ruler was ousted following a brief military takeover in November 2017. He vowed to hold free and fair elections and mend strained relations with the West, but his plan was marred when soldiers fired at protesters on August 1st, killing at least 6 people.
The same constitution that took us to the Constitutional Court is the same constitution that gives us the right to demonstrate. It's actually a constitutional right, which we have not exercised over the past few days on account of examining and executing the constitutional route. Now that that door is shut, there are many other doors. That Section 59 door of political protest is just one of them. Peaceful protest. They know that they can't invite me to a wedding. I was supposed to be the one who was actually receiving the gifts. They know it. That's why they will not even bother, because they know that theirs is a fandom one. But I'm not bothered, because it doesn't matter. It's up to them. I would not go anyway, because you don't go where you know that there's been fraud.
Desperate Venezuelan migrants who made it across the border in time were breathing a sigh of relief hours before Peru's tightened controls came into effect Saturday, preventing those not carrying passports from entering. Thousands of migrants fleeing the crippling economic crisis in their homeland had faced a race against time to cross into Peru from either Ecuador or Colombia, after last week's announcement from Lima that they had 1 week to enter before a passport would be required. Until Saturday, a simple identity card was enough for Venezuelans heading south to escape food and medicine shortages, hyperinflation, and failing public services back home. At one border crossing, Peruvian officers handed out balloons to exhausted children, but many Venezuelans feared it would be a different story once the new rules come into force. Regine de la Portilla of the United Nations Refugee Agency, UNHCR, said people arrive with very few resources, and after having traveled 5 or 6 days being the shortest, there are people who've been traveling for months. Ecuador opened a humanitarian corridor on Friday and lifted its own entry restrictions to facilitate the Venezuelans' travels to Peru, one of the region's fastest-growing economies with 4.7% growth projected for next year. Ecuadorian Interior Minister Mauro Toscanini said Friday that 35 busloads of migrants were on the move along the route authorities had opened to Peru. Colombia had criticized its two southern neighbors for implementing travel restrictions, warning it wouldn't stop migration. Ecuador, where close to 500,000 people have fled this year alone, heeded the warning and lifted its week-long requirement for Venezuelans to produce a passport, all the while helping those migrants reach Peru. Peru citizens largely supported the move, though worried about the impact that the 400,000 Venezuelans already in the country would have.
Espectacular, bien, o sea que valió la pena haber pasado todo lo que pasamos porque lo logramos. A solo 5 minutos para las 12, para cerrar el proceso.
Sí, me siento por una parte tranquilo, pero por otra no, preocupado por mis hermanos venezolanos. Con este problema ahora del pasaporte, bueno, en nuestro país es muy difícil tener pasaporte y bueno.
Up next, DRC Electoral Commission rejects the candidacy of a former warlord. British Foreign Minister praises the temporary release of a UK-Iranian woman. Eagle News Washington, D.C. will return in a moment. Welcome back. You're watching Eagle News, Washington, D.C. Former warlord Jean-Pierre Bemba's candidacy in the Democratic Republic of Congo's upcoming presidential elections was deemed inadmissible by the country's election commission on Friday as opposition groups cried foul. The commission rejected the candidacy of Bemba, a rival to DR Congo President Joseph Kabila, on the basis that he had been convicted by the International Criminal Court in March 2018 and handed a year in prison and a €300,000 fine for bribing witnesses.
Quant à l'élection présidentielle, nombre de circonscriptions, une seule, la République démocratique du Congo. Nombre de candidats reçus, 25, dont une femme et 24 hommes. Sont déclarés recevables 19 et sont déclarés irrecevables 6. Enfin, numéro 6, Mbemba Ngombo Jean-Pierre, parti politique MLC. Il est déclaré irrecevable suite à sa condamnation par la Cour pénale internationale à 1 an de prison et au paiement de 300 000 € pour subornation des témoins, extrait du casier judiciaire.
Bemba's war crime convictions were overturned by the court in The Hague, and he returned to Kinshasa in August after being acquitted. Just ahead of the Election Commission's announcement, the political opposition to President Kabila issued a fresh rallying cry accusing the powers that be of seeking to exclude multiple opposition candidates. According to a statement signed by Bemba and exiled opposition politician Moise Katumbi and Felix Tshisekedi, opposition groups called on Kabila to free up the electoral process and stop giving injunctions to the Election Commission. Overall, the Election Commission has excluded 6 out of 25 candidates who had registered to run in the presidential election set for December 23rd. A country of some 80 million people, the Democratic Republic of Congo has never known a peaceful transition of power since it gained independence in 1960. Kabila, in power since 2001, took over from his father, Laurent Desire Kabila, who was assassinated by a bodyguard. His tenure over the vast mineral-rich country has been marked by a reputation for corruption, inequality, and unrest. The watchdog Transparency International ranked it 156 out of 176 countries in its 2016 Corruption Index. Bemba lost presidential elections to Kabila in 2006 and was later accused of treason when his bodyguards clashed with the army in Kinshasa. In 2007, he fled to Belgium, where he had spent part of his youth. He was then arrested in Europe on a warrant by the ICC for war crimes committed by his private army in the neighboring Central African Republic from 2002 to 2003, when its then president, Angie Felix Batassi, sought his help to repel a coup attempt. He was sentenced in The Hague in 2016 to 18 years before the conviction was overturned in June on appeal. The ICC declared Bemba could not be held responsible for crimes committed by his troops. British Foreign Secretary Jeremy Hunt praises the extremely positive announcement that Nazanin Zaghari Ratcliffe, a British-Iranian woman who has been in prison in Tehran for more than 2 years following a conviction for sedition, has been freed for 3 days. He calls on the Iranian government to go the whole way by releasing Zaghari Ratcliffe completely and allowing her to return to the UK.
All of us welcome today's news. It's extremely positive, and we want to thank the Iranian authorities for what they're doing, whilst not forgetting that she should not be in prison in the first place. Nazanin is innocent. She has a 4-year-old daughter, Gabriella. She has a devoted husband. She has friends in both Iran and the UK. And frankly, every day that she is in prison is a reminder to the whole world of a gross injustice. So we call on the Iranian authorities to capitalize on the goodwill from today's announcement by going the whole way and releasing Nazanin and allowing her to go back to her family, come back to the UK, which is where her home is, and end this totally appalling injustice.
Zaghari Ratcliffe was reunited with members of her family, including her young daughter, outside the Iranian capital after her surprise release. Her husband, Richard Ratcliffe, said in a statement, Nazanin was released from Evin prison on furlough this morning. Initially, the release is for 3 days. Her lawyer is hopeful this can be extended. Ratcliffe said his wife, who has denied all charges filed against her in Iran, was currently with her parents and their 4-year-old daughter Gabriella in Damavand, a mountain resort near Tehran. Her husband voiced thanks to those in Tehran and London involved in making the release happen, including Britain's new Foreign Secretary, Jeremy Hunt. Hunt, who met Ratcliffe in London earlier this month after he was appointed as Britain's top diplomat in July, called her temporary release really good news and paid tribute to the tireless campaigning by husband Richard and her friends. Zaghari Ratcliffe, who works for the Thomson Reuters Foundation, the media organization's philanthropic arm, was arrested at Tehran airport in April 2016. She is serving a 5-year jail sentence for sedition, a charge she has always contested. Hunt's predecessor Boris Johnson came under heavy criticism after appearing to jeopardize her defense last year by saying she was training journalists during her visit, something her employer and family strongly denied. Johnson later clarified his remarks, saying it was clear that she was only on holiday.
It was a tragic day for the city of Jacksonville and gamers of Madden Nation when a gunman took the lives of 3 people, including himself, and shot 12 others. The shooting took place at Jacksonville Landing during a Madden football gaming tournament inside a pizza restaurant. According to Sheriff Mike Williams, the suspect was a participant in the Madden gaming tournament.
The single suspect in this case is a white male. This is pending confirmation, but we believe the suspect to be 24-year-old David Katz from Baltimore, Maryland. And the FBI is assisting us with that leg of the investigation in Baltimore. We have located and impounded the suspect's vehicle, and a search of that is pending. We believe he stayed somewhere locally last night, maybe at a hotel. If anyone has any information about where he stayed last night, please call 630-0500.
Mayor of Jacksonville, Lenny Curry, expressed his concerns for the city.
Tonight, Jacksonville is mourning. We have faced an occurrence that is all too common and will require us to continue to do the hard work of public safety to make sure that people are safe.
Taylor Poindexter, one of the victims to the shooting, recounted the incident.
We actually caught like a vague glimpse of the shooter. We didn't get like a face or anything like that, but we did see him have two hands on a gun, walking back, just popping around. We got from the bar stools. I was actually pushed from behind, so when I landed, it was kind of painful. So we crawled out. My boyfriend made it out before me into the entrance of the pizzeria, and I'm calling out to him. By the time I see him, I'm calling out to him, telling him I couldn't. It was hard for me to walk. So from there, he came and helped me out.
According to the Sheriff's Office of Jacksonville, more information will be posted on their Twitter account. For now, Sheriff Williams is still working with the FBI and other agencies to put together more information concerning the background and motives of the suspect.
Currently, as stated by the Sheriff, FBI Baltimore and ATF Baltimore are assisting in the investigation in Baltimore.
Signing off from Jacksonville, Florida, I'm Patrick Harrington with the EBC Florida Bureau, 1 with 25.
Coming up, we will take you to Multnomah Falls, a breathtaking view all year round. Eagle News Washington, D.C. will return shortly. This is Eagle News Washington, D.C. I am Rose Papa Angeles. Eagle News Junior correspondents Estela Dominique and Elise Danielle will take us to Multnomah Falls, a spectacular view available for you to admire all year round. Take a look.
Multnomah Falls is a two-tier waterfall that makes it to the list of top things to see when in Oregon. Walking toward these two buttes, one may already hear the calming sound of gushing water and feel the mist carried by the breeze. The top tier, a 542-foot tall wonder, cascades down the river meeting the lower tier, a shorter but equally pretty 69-foot waterfall, completing the viewing experience. Add to that, Multnomah Falls never dries up, making it nature's gift to the Beaver State, 365 days a year. Having this 611-foot beauty in your backyard, available to admire all year round, is something to be thankful for. From Multnomah Falls here in Oregon, I'm Estela Dominique and I am Elise Danielle, and we are 1 with 25.
Thank you, Estela Dominique and Elise Danielle. That is today's Eagle News, Washington, D.C. Join us tomorrow for stories that matter to you. Visit our website at Eaglenews.PH and EagleNewsLive.com. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/EagleNewsPH. Thank you for watching. I am Rose Papa Angeles and I am 1 with 25.